Moin Leute, heute habe ich mal jemand von Riot Games am Start und zwar den guten Ed, der sitzt hier oben schon und der wird gleich mit uns hier so ein bisschen über das neue Ranking-System in League of Legends sprechen, denn da wird sich ja einiges ändern und ich habe die einzigartige Gelegenheit, endlich mal mit jemandem von Riot Games zu sprechen. Ed is joining me right now and maybe you can just introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Ed Altorfer. I go by Riot Sap Magic, and I'm the lead for the Ranked team. Here just kind of to answer whatever questions people may have about Ranked and show my face so that when people want to complain to me, they can find me easily on Twitter or Reddit or whatever.
Nice. I might just link that below so they can find you easily.
Yeah, sounds good.
Good. So I saw the video of you and some other developers of the new ranking system. So several questions are answered already. But there are some questions me and my community just want to know specifically. So I would just start with the tiers, the new ranking tiers, which says that there will be 2 new tiers. But why is there another tier below bronze? What is the main idea about this?
Yeah, like are certain players just that bad that we had to put one below bronze? So look, actually, when we looked at putting a tier below bronze, it was actually for a couple of reasons. One of them was that we wanted to create a better experience for players who are new to ranked, whereas we create kind of a bad one today. Right now, you may or may not know, but we basically take all new players and we kind of say, yeah, you're sort of gonna start somewhere around silver. We might start you a little bit lower if you're particularly bad, but otherwise you're gonna kind of start out there. And what happens to a lot of players is they end up placing and then they lose a bunch of games and they fall down to bronze anyway. And so what we're trying to do is we're actually putting a tier below bronze as kind of a good starting point for new players who are joining ranked so that they can basically after one game, they'll start right in Iron 4 and they'll climb up from there. So it'll actually be this experience where they get to see the improvement that they're making as opposed to like falling down once they place in the system. So that's one reason. The other reason is for bronze players right now, it's actually bronze and silver are a huge percentage of the player base. And so what ends up happening because of that is when a player is in bronze, let's say you're bronze 4, right? If you improve a lot at the game, like your MMR goes up significantly, you're probably still actually in bronze. You might be like bronze 2 or bronze 1. But that isn't a very good experience, and a lot of players end up spending their entire ranked career in bronze. So really creating this new tier, like creating Iron, gives us kind of more space at the bottom in general to like distribute players in a better way so that a typical player is going to have a way more fluid, way better experience climbing. They're going to get feedback as they're improving, right? Which I think is really important. I think a lot of players in the rank system today actually sort of just like churn out if they are playing for long enough and they're not making any progress or they're not feeling like they're getting any better. And I think we're trying to kind of fix that.
Yeah, I kind of understand that, and this is actually why I like you deleting every 5th row of every tier.
Yeah,
so it appears bigger, but it actually isn't bigger, right?
Yeah, there actually are not more divisions in the system. It's more about creating more of those high points of like hitting a new tier, right? Yeah. But the actual and like we're also doing some things at the bottom to kind of like streamline where players are so that that experience of climbing feels better. I think one of the things that we aren't sure whether this will help or not, but one of the things we wanted to tackle with removing that 5th division is actually a lot of players right now we see will hit the 5th division of a tier and then they'll actually just kind of like either stay there or they will stop playing. And we think that one of the reasons for that is most players when they hit like, you hit gold 5 or whatever, you probably look up at platinum and you're like, there's no way, right? Yeah. That's 500 LP. That's like a bunch of promotion series. I have to work really, really hard to get to platinum. And we're hoping that like at least for a few more players with only having 4 divisions, they'll look at that and they'll go, okay, well, I'm gold 4. Like I could probably get to plat. That's only like 4 divisions, right? Like I can, by the time I get to gold 3, like I feel like I'm actually getting pretty close, and gold 2, I might as well keep playing. So I think it's kind of like it's weird. There's a psychological effect of kind of seeing where you are in the ladder and making this assessment for yourself of like, can I get to the next thing? Like, is it possible? Am I good enough? And I think this maybe will help in a small way, but we may look at other ways to kind of give those incentives and like make it feel good that you're playing in the ranked system and like give that feedback that you're improving.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So there will be another tier coming to the league next year, and this is Grandmaster. And the main question is how many LP I get to get Master, to get Grandmaster, and to get Challenger.
Yeah, good question. The way that Master, Grandmaster, and Challenger will work is effectively kind of the same way that it works today for Master and Challenger. So the actual LP targets for getting into Grandmaster and getting into Challenger will kind of vary depending on who is actually in those and what their LP is. Similar to today, right? And so that's the way that will actually just mechanically work. The reason we decided to add that tier at Master is because I don't know what actually is your rank.
I'm gold 5.
You're gold 5. Yeah. All right. Well, you're with me. I'm in gold 2. I'm like I was in my platinum series. I was just playing last night. So okay. So
you
right
didn't
now,
make it?
I have one. I have two more. I have 2 more games to play.
Okay.
Fingers crossed. Like I'm gonna get it. Yeah. So in Diamond right now and in Master, we have this kind of a community perception problem where from the top to the bottom of Diamond and from the top to the bottom of Master, players perceive that there's actually like a pretty big difference in skill. So the way that manifests is if I'm a Diamond 5 player and I get put in a game with a Diamond 1 player, I'm like, oh crap, that guy is really good. And as that Diamond 1 player, I'm like, why is there a Diamond 5 scrub in my game, right? And so I think like by adding Grandmaster tier, it actually lets us kind of readjust that distribution as well of like Diamond, Master, and Grandmaster, such that when you're in Diamond, you should feel like the other players in Diamond are of similar skill to you. When you're in Master, same thing, and when you're in Grandmaster, same thing. And I think that's what we're really trying to accomplish there. But yeah, mechanically it's going to work exactly the same as if we had just added a new Master tier, and all 3 of them kind of flow fluidly together.
Yeah, that sounds very great, and I hope it will work. Yeah. And
we hope so too.
But this brings me to the next question, and now getting deeper into the ranking system is what was the main idea giving every role its own ELO ranking system? Because I think about I play main AD carry, and when I get elf role, I try my best, but I cannot make it, possibly, and this is what you mentioned in your video, but is there any chance you can trick the system? Like, I play a main AD carry, and I get off-rolled, so I pick jungle, for example. And I talk to my team, and I say, hey, I'm main AD carry, can I play AD carry? But I got into the game, into the lobby as in jungle, so will it affect the AD carry, elo, or will it affect my jungle elo?
Yeah, those are really good questions. I'll answer the first question of like why, why are we doing that first, and then I'll answer the second question. So the question of like why do we want to do position ranks, right? It might not seem completely intuitive on the surface, so I actually want to kind of dig into what our reason was originally for wanting to even explore that space. Basically, right now, you just pointed out, right? You might be a really good AD carry player. Or gold 5 AD carry player, whatever. I'm just kidding.
I was platinum. I was platinum.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll get back together. You might be a gold 80 carry player, right? And you might get off-rolled. You might get support in, let's say, 1 out of 20 of your games. And maybe you get your secondary position. What's your secondary position?
Yeah, maybe support.
Okay, well, okay. Then maybe you play support more than 1 out of 20 games, right? You play maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 15, something like that. So that's a decent number of games over the course of the season. And when you get put into those games, you feel like you're at a disadvantage. And
Sure.
why do you feel that way?
Because I don't play this role all the time. As I'm not trained. Yeah? I'm not comfortable.
Yeah, right. You don't play it. You're not comfortable. You're not trained. You're not as good at playing support as you are AD carry. And I'm sure that you could be, right? Like if you practiced and you played a lot of support, you could probably get there. But with the amount that you play it, you're maybe, I don't know, like 2-3 divisions worse probably. And so basically right now the matchmaking system has no knowledge of that. So when it puts you into that game, it puts you into that game with a bunch of gold players, because it's like, hey, you're a gold player, right? So you should be able to play this game, but you don't feel that way. You end up feeling like, wow, okay, hopefully we don't lose because of me. Like, I guess I'll just try to play passive. I guess I'll, play this one champion that I can sort of play and support and like not feed, right? And that basically leads you to really not enjoying playing support in the first place, because you're always playing against better opponents.
Yeah.
And also you feel like you're maybe letting your team down. And on top of that, you feel like, wow, and if I lose this game that I had to play because Riot assigned it to me, then I also lose LP for this, like the rank that I care a lot about, right? So I think that is the core of what we're trying to solve with position ranks. Positional matchmaking is all about acknowledging that players just straight up are not as good at off positions as they are at their main position. We know from looking at win rate data for millions of players that typically a player is a few divisions worse at their off positions than they are at their main. And support main players tend to be even more affected. They can be up to a tier worse at other positions than their main. And that basically leads to a couple problems. One, it makes autofill really bad. And autofill is kind of a necessity in matchmaking to keep queue times acceptable. So like we can't really remove it, but we need to make it feel as good as possible, right? And the second thing that it causes is players who might otherwise really, really enjoy playing other positions. Like maybe you're a support player, but you would love to play mid, and when your favorite champ is meta in mid, like you wish you could get better in practice. Or maybe your Clash team, fingers crossed, needs a mid player and you need to get better at that, but you have no way to practice. Right now, the fact that matchmaking doesn't take into account your position skill means that you'll never do that, because why would you opt into an experience where you're going to lose more just to get better at something, right? You're going to preserve your ranking as much as you can. And I think the last thing that I would say, and why we would do position ranks specifically, is as a player, you might kind of have an intuitive sense of how good am I at support versus AD carry, but there's really nothing in the system that kind of tells you that or reinforce. You have no real like measurement of how good you are. So even if you did say, "Hey, I'm gonna go get better at support," right? I'm gonna go play a bunch of support games and I'm gonna improve and get better. Well, probably you're not going to see your rank really change. Well, you might see it go down and then you might see it go back up slightly, but like you're not really getting any good feedback that, oh, hey, cool, I have my support rank and I'm like improving that, and look, I'm getting better, right? I got up to gold, I got up to platinum. So I think position ranks is about like giving the more like higher accuracy to your rank, and then also giving you that feedback when you're getting better at some like new skill vector of league, right? But for me, the core of it is it's about fixing that matchmaking experience. It's about making that feel like, at the very least, even if you only want to play AD carry, making it feel so that when you get support, you actually have a fair shot at like winning that game, right? So I think that's really the core of the why. And I talked forever. So you had another question. You want to re-ask it?
I can just re-ask it and add something else, because
cool.
there might be a trick with this ELO system. You can trick it maybe as I said, you go into the lobby and say, hey, I made an AD carry. I queued for jungle, but let me play AD carry. So I get into the game as a jungler, maybe Iron 4, but my AD carry skills are at platinum. Yeah, maybe.
Come on,
maybe.
You're not that bad.
Maybe. And my AD carry skills might be at gold 1. And then I get into the game with Iron players, but I'm actually swapping my role into AD carry as a gold player. So what is happening here?
Yeah, what happens? Do I do I just get this like free game? That's a really good question, and that's actually it's really interesting. That was one of the biggest things that players brought up to us when we first started talking about the rank system was, hey, can't I go abuse matchmaking in this way? And we had kind of thought through those edge cases previously, but we felt like our solutions to them weren't rock solid. And when players raised the concern as well, it was like the alarm bells moment, right? Of like, okay, we need to actually go like fix this problem. So let me kind of explain to you how this will work on the matchmaking side. So actually, first, just systematically, when you play a position, you will receive LP for the position you played. We actually have some new tech kind of in the game server that will detect which position you played in the game and see if that's different from what you were assigned, and it will associate your LP accordingly. So there is that, right? So if you do that situation where I'm an AD carry player, I queue up as jungle, and then I play AD carry, you'll get a LP for AD carry. Win or lose, you'll get LP for AD carry. So now let's talk about how that abuse case works, right? So I queue up, I'm like, hey, I'm way better. I'm not Iron 4, I'm actually a gold 180 carry, right? And so let me play, I'm gonna carry you guys. Great. So you swap.
Yeah.
One thing that is happening behind the scenes with our matchmaking is your MMRs for the different positions are actually not completely separate from each other. They kind of share a loose linking to each other, which means that when we matchmake you, let's say we matchmake you jungle, if you do happen to be Iron 4, we have a few protections in place in the system that kind of control how far apart will really allow you to get match made. So we might not be able to get you into a perfectly fair game, but like we'll get you into one that we think is reasonable and closer to fair than we would today. So maybe if the distance is like gold 1 to Iron 4, maybe we'll match you in like a silver 4 game, or maybe we'll match you in Iron 1 game or whatever. But like think of kind of, we have protections in place to kind of prevent it from getting too crazy. But because we have that linking, that means we can do something else. We can also look at basically how frequently you are doing that swapping activity. And if you are swapping frequently, then we can actually pull the links together. So basically treat it as if you have a single MMR just like today, which means that you'll get harder games in off positions, but you'll get reasonable games in your main position. So it's actually kind of a punishment in a way to you if you want to try to abuse the system that way. And it really only takes us maybe like, I don't know, 2-3 games to kind of tighten that link very rapidly. So what happens in the ones that we haven't tightened the link yet, and you're getting these free games, right? There is a possibility that you'll be able to eke out like a slight advantage by doing this. Like I said, you'll end up punishing yourself a few games later, and it will probably equalize out. I think that could create a less than desirable experience, like in that 1 or 2 games where you try to do it. But my belief is, because of the protections in matchmaking that prevent us from matching you too far apart, the damage that you would be able to do there is pretty limited, and you're actually taking on some additional risk if you do that. So if let's say you win that game, that's great. Like you won, we're going to give you LP for AD carry, but you won't earn nearly as much LP as you would have earned from playing jungle, because you were in an easier game, right? Yeah. And the flip side of that, which is actually very unfortunate for you, is if you lose that game because your Iron 4 teammates are really bad, you will lose more LP. Yeah, that's so good. You're basically kind of like deciding for 1 to 2 games, like, is it worth gambling my LP for my main position so that I can get a 1 to 2 game advantage, and then make every other off position game that I play harder? Like, it, for me, when I look at the trade-offs there, I don't see that as an advantage for me as a player to try to do that. Some players will almost certainly try to do it, and we're going to be monitoring that particular edge case very heavily, because obviously it's critical to good matchmaking that we don't allow abuse of the matchmaking system, especially when we say, like, positional matchmaking is all about making matchmaking quality higher, right? So if we introduce all these abuse cases at the same time and we don't solve for those really well, then we haven't actually done the thing that we wanted to do, and we'll ultimately have to end up reverting it or something.
But is it the same way when I just feel like, okay, it's not my role, let me int. Like, let me intentional feed because I play jungle and I don't want to play jungle? Is it the same
actually,
effect?
Yeah, so there is a similar effect. So because of that linking again, it means that when your MMR drops in an off position, it will start to affect the main position as well, like the MMR of the main position. In addition to that, the more we basically will keep track of, let's say, the last 10 games that you played in off positions, And what happens is we kind of keep like tally marks of how often you lost out of the last 10 games or whatever, and we ramp up your splashing based on that. So if you, let's say you've lost 5 games in a row in support, right? And you lose a 6th game in support when you get autofilled. Normally, your splashing would have been -3, -5, something like that to your main position. Once you've lost like those 5 games in a row, or like the 10 games in a row, that starts to ramp up to like -10, -15, -20, like, and so you really, it's not in your interest to do that because it's gonna start hurting your main position, and that's probably the thing that a lot of players care most about, especially if they are a one trick or a specialist player. And so the general thing that we're going for, we'll have to tune all of this, right? But the general thing that we're going for is essentially, hey, if you're playing the system as it's designed, you should more or less feel like you can play your positions independently and feel like one isn't going to dramatically hurt the other. If you are trying to abuse the system, or if you are trying to tank games because you don't care about an off position, that's where we're going to start to hit you with bigger penalties. And I want to acknowledge too that with the negative splashing, there is a possibility that, maybe you just got supremely unlucky and you just happened to lose 10 out of 10 of your last games that you got autofilled. That splashing will hurt you. But for me, when I look at that, I'm like, that's kind of a necessary evil to make sure that players who would be bad actors don't abuse the system. And it's not any worse than it is today, even at full splashing, right? Because today, when you play an off position game, what do you lose, right? You lose -15 LP, you lose -20 LP. So I think it's like, at worst, it's the system today. And at best, it's a system where you can choose which positions you want to get better at, and you can like really go hard on those and not feel like your other positions are going to suffer as a result. So you get way better measurement about like how good you are at the game.
Okay. To wrap this up, do you have to play placement matches for every single role?
Yes, you do, but bear with me. So you do. There are a couple things we're going to be looking at there. One is we can tune the number of placement games you have to play. So maybe it won't be 10. We're going to feel that out. The other thing is, remember that we are actually changing the placement system as well. So while you do have to play placements in each position, after your first game in that position, you're going to get an initial rank. So you'll have an idea of where you're at, and you'll just actually have that experience of climbing up. And remember also that with the new placement system, you can't lose LP for losing games during those initial placements. And when you win, you're going to get bonus LP. So honestly, for a lot of players, I feel like what that's going to feel like is, okay, I'm going to go play this off position. I'm going to see how high I can climb by the end of placements, right? That feels really good. Hopefully I don't lose too many games because I want to try to climb up as fast as possible. In placements, I skip promo series. So actually, like, it's in my best interest to try to win as many games as I can to kind of skip through those. And I think that'll actually be a really cool and fun experience. In practice, when we look at the data about like what players play right now, most players tend to play 1 to 2 positions, really a decent amount throughout the season. We want to open that up with position ranks, but I think when you think about like the worst case, you're like, oh, I have to play 50 games and 5 positions and all this kind of stuff. But most players won't actually do that because they'll be playing the 1 or 2 positions that they really enjoy playing. So it'll be, maybe 10 to 20 or whatever at the beginning of the season. Okay. I think the most engaged players who play hundreds of games may choose to play more positions, and that's fine.
But actually, if I start playing, I try to get my own role, right? So if I want to do AD carry in 2019, can't I just go for AD carry all the time and maybe take the second role and maybe play some placements? Should I play all placements on every role before I start ranking, or should I just leave it with 1 or 2 positions?
I will leave that to you to figure out. But what I think will probably happen is most players will probably continue to play in a similar way to how they play now, which is to say they'll probably go, okay, 2019 starting, I'm gonna I main AD carry, right? I'm going to play AD carry until I hit my my peak, right? Maybe it's platinum, fingers crossed. And once I hit platinum and I feel like I'm not improving, I'm not growing, I'm not moving anymore, and I can't figure out, maybe I'm just hit a wall, then I'll probably go like, okay, well, I can keep playing AD carry and I can just sit here in platinum, or I can like go play support, right? And like I've been wanting to learn Alistar, I've been wanting to learn Brand, I've been wanting to whatever is flavor of the month, right? And you can then go kind of on that journey again and see how high you can climb on support. I think like that's kind of what I would expect to see, more so than people like playing one of each position over and over or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I got 2 more questions and then we're through. Like right now, there's the common or the main society of League of Legends is between silver and bronze, I guess. Like about 80%, something like that. Will there be a shift lower because of the new tier? Like, will most people be bronze? Will most people be iron? What's about that?
Yeah, so our basic intent is, so let's talk about like at the very beginning of the season when people do placements. Some folks who are in low bronze will place in iron, and what I expect is that they will very quickly like be able to climb out of that. By the end of the season, they'll probably be able to even climb a bit higher than where they are right now, based on how the system is designed currently. So actually, to answer your question, I would say, no, I would not expect that we would increase the percentage of the population like in iron through silver. If anything, we probably want to shift players upward a little bit to give them more of that like climb experience than they have right now. Like when you look at League of Legends as a population of players, and you see that like 90% of players are gold or below. That's pretty crazy when you think about like other games like Overwatch or StarCraft or Hearthstone or whatever, where there are actually like way more players kind of more evenly distributed through the upper tiers than we have. And I think when you get up into like Diamond Master, you're talking about like 0.1% of players, like just these crazy small numbers, right? I think we don't want to be Overwatch, right? We don't want 25% of players to be platinum or diamond or whatever, but given where we are right now and how restrictive the system is, I think we could stand to like be a little bit more permissive with where we place players and what kind of a story we tell them about their skill in themselves, right? And so like if anything, I would say we don't want to move players down. If anything, we want to move players slightly up. But like I said, I don't think we're trying to go to the extreme of half our players are plat and above. Like that's just not the kind of game we want to be. We do acknowledge that like ranked in League of Legends should feel like an intense kind of grueling experience, and it should feel really awesome when you do hit plat, when you do hit diamond. We don't want to change the meanings of those. But if we put, some more players in gold than we do currently, like I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, I did felt good when I hit platinum 2 years ago.
Yeah.
To a long time ago. And the last question is not really a question, but for me, it's or for my community, it's very important to get to know, will there be finally a bronze border?
Will there be a bronze border? Great question. So actually I can talk a little bit about like some of the things that are in our recent video about splits and rewards, which is we think that the border is a great way to give you feedback before each game about like what your journey is, right? And right now it's kind of problematic for doing that because it shows only your last season rank, which means that it's completely static. It's like I got to silver last season, therefore my border is silver all year. And on one hand, that's really cool, right? Because it means that you get to carry a thing with you for an entire year that you show off to people in and out of the game. And I think that's great. I think we want to keep doing that. But we actually want to repurpose the border to use it for your current season rank, right? Because that means that as you're placing in silver next season and as you're climbing up like silver 4, 3, 2, 1, gold 4, 3, 2, 1, platinum, you're seeing that thing change, evolve, and grow with you, which I think is actually a really awesome feeling, right? You feel getting better. Yeah. So I think like we want to do that. So that leaves the question of, so that answers your first question, which is there's going to be a border for every rank next year, including iron, because we want to make sure that you have a thing that you're looking at that is telling you how you're improving. So that leaves the question of what happens to your past rank, right? Do we just get rid of it? And the answer to that is no. I think when we looked at what the border does and what it represents in terms of your accomplishments and your legacy, we knew from the get-go that we couldn't remove that. We needed to replace it with something that felt really satisfying. So when we sat down and worked on that, what we ultimately came to was this concept of kind of your ranked armor, right? And this banner draped off the back of it that is meant to represent kind of your full set of career accomplishments for about 2 years worth of play. So let me kind of break down the parts of it, right? The main part is your emblem, which is going to be whatever your current rank, tier, and division is, right? So it's like gold, platinum, whatever. You'll also have 3 upgrades on the emblem that you'll be able to earn by playing in each of the 3 splits next year.
Okay.
And on the banner itself, there's a trim on the banner that represents your past rank. And that's not only going to be on the loading screen. It's going to be in your profile. It's going to be on when you hover a friend in your friends list. It's going to be in the lobby with you. It's going to be in your rank dashboard. It's going to go to a bunch of places. And I think that combination of all of those elements that reflects like basically 2 years of ranked play by the end of 2019 is going to feel like really awesome and rewarding for players. It's going to really tell a story about what they've accomplished. And I think it's going to continue to hold that sort of prestige in terms of why I would want to, why do I want to hit plat next year, right? It's because I want my banner trim and my emblem and all my stuff to like match and be really awesome and really prestigious. And I want to take all those things to all those places with me. I think, yeah, that's the long answer to the simple question you asked. But yes, there will be a bronze border.
Very good.
And there will be an iron border.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all I have.
Great.
And thank you for the very, very intense answering of my short questions. But it was very informative, and I think our audience will be enjoying it.
Yeah, all of my team does call me intense, so I'm glad that you recognize.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Snack.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and interviews and interactions like this are a great way for us to kind of extend our reach and like get out in front of more players, right? Like you've got a community of people who are really passionate about ranked, who are really passionate about League of Legends, and I really want to just like put a face to the stuff that we're working on, right? So that when your viewers and people that you play with have questions, have concerns, they can like come find me, right? Come find me anywhere and like give that feedback, and I'm always happy to listen to it. I know that it can be tricky to for us to like listen intently to European players who speak different languages and things like that, but this is kind of an attempt at bridging that gap a little bit. So feel free to send people my way anytime.
Yeah, I will. But I got one more important question for you personally. Who will win Worlds?
Oh, I mean, it's Cloud9 all the way, right?
Okay, I gotta go. Gotta go.
I mean, Fnatic. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I think honestly, whoever wins Worlds, it's gonna be crazy and amazing. Yeah. I'm just like, I can't wait. 3 Western teams. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Then enjoy Fnatic winning tomorrow against Cloud9. No, Sunday.
Right,
Sunday.
I'll enjoy Fnatic winning against Cloud9.
Yeah. Okay. It's on
Sounds
Sunday.
good.
Okay. And thank you for your time. And
Thanks.
Greetings to the rest of your team, and maybe we talk again.
All right. Sounds good. Have a nice night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.